echoes in the disused mine. When I stepped through the door of my childhood home, the air felt charged, heavy with the weight of memories that threatened to suffocate me. It had been years since I left, years since I had been the butt of every joke, the family disgrace. They said I'd lost my mind, that I was chasing ghosts in abandoned mines, and that I'd end up a lonely shell of a person, consumed by my obsession. But I wasn't here to reclaim their approval. I was here to show them the truth. The living room was just as I remembered, a faded couch, family photos lined on the walls, and the scent of old coffee hanging in the air. My mother looked up from her knitting, her expression shifting from curiosity to disbelief. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice laced with a mix of annoyance and concern. My father, perched in his armchair, merely grunted, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. "I've come to share something important," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. I pulled out my laptop and set it on the coffee table, the screen illuminating the dim room with a ghostly glow. "You need to see this." They exchanged glances, the kind that spoke volumes of their disdain. "You're still at it, aren't you?" my father scoffed. "Spending your life chasing shadows. You should have listened to us." But I wasn't deterred. I opened a video file, the first of many recordings I had painstakingly gathered over the years. The sound of whispers filled the room, echoing off the walls like a chilling wind. "Listen," I urged. "This is what I've been investigating. The voices of the dead, trapped in the mines, their stories, their pain." They leaned in, skepticism etched into their features. But I pressed on. I showed them recordings of spectral voices, echoes of miners who had perished in darkness, their warnings entwined with the very fabric of the earth. Each whisper carried a weight, a truth that had been buried beneath corporate lies and greed. "This isn't just about ghosts," I continued, my heart racing. "It's about the corruption that led to their deaths, the illegal dumping, the cover-ups. I've exposed it all." My mother shook her head, her face pale. "You're scaring me. This isn't healthy, dear. You need to let go of this obsession." But my father sat in silence, the color draining from his face as the recordings played on. I could see it in his eyes, the dawning realization that perhaps I had been right all along. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, weaving a tapestry of despair that clung to the air like fog. I could feel the room shift, the atmosphere thickening with something sinister. Then it happened. The lights flickered, and the temperature dropped. I'd seen this before during my investigations, an unmistakable sign of something otherworldly. The shadows in the corners of the room began to stretch, twisting into grotesque shapes. My parents recoiled in horror, their disbelief crumbling like ancient stone. "Mom, Dad," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "You need to understand the cost of ignoring the truth." And then the whispers turned into screams. The walls shuddered. The very foundation of the house groaning under the weight of the spirits I had awakened. Figures began to materialize, pale and translucent, their faces twisted in agony. The miners I had recorded, lost souls now standing before my family, their eyes hollow, pleading for recognition. "Please," one of them gasped, reaching out with a ghostly hand. "Help us." My parents screamed, their voices mingling with the cacophony of anguish that filled the room. I stood frozen, watching the horror unfold. They had mocked me for years, but now they faced the consequences of their disbelief. The spirits swirled around us, their stories echoing in my ears, a haunting symphony of pain and betrayal. I turned to my parents, my heart heavy with a mix of dread and vindication. "This is what I've been trying to show you. This is the truth you refuse to see. As the spirits closed in, the weight of their suffering bore down on my family. I could see the understanding dawning in my father's eyes, the realization that they had shunned not just my obsession, but the very lives that had been lost because of it. My mother fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she begged for forgiveness from the shadows that surrounded us. But there was no reprieve. The spirits had come to claim what was owed, and my family was caught in the web of their own disbelief. "Help us," they cried, their voices merging into a haunting chorus. "Help us, or join us." And then, silence. The room returned to its mundane state, the shadows retreating as if they had never existed. My parents were gone, leaving only a lingering echo of their terror. I was alone, the weight of my triumph heavy on my shoulders. I had survived what they could not fathom, faced the darkness that had haunted me for years, and emerged with the knowledge that would forever mark me. As I looked around the empty room, I felt a chill run down my spine. The echoes of the mine had followed me home, a reminder of the cost of ignorance and the price of truth. I was no longer the family disgrace. I was a warning, a testament to the horrors that lay beneath the surface, waiting for those willing to listen. I closed my laptop, the screen fading to black, and stepped out into the night. The world was vast, filled with secrets that begged to be uncovered. And as I walked away from the home that once rejected me, I knew my journey was far from over. The whispers would always be with me, a haunting reminder of the darkness I had faced and the truths I had unearthed.